Got it.
Oh, we lost somebody.
What did we lose? Storm?
Okay, hopefully he will come back. Thank you. Thank you to everybody who is attending our meeting of Fresno City Toastmasters today. I don't need to introduce myself because you all already know me. We are going to push ahead with our agenda, even though we just have one speech, which is me, and I'm actually going to be re-giving a speech, but I think it will be helpful for me to at least stay fresh and have to give a speech of some sort. The two roles that we still need to have filled are grammarian and timer. Is somebody willing to take on, two of you take on a double role and fill that in? Farron, which one would you like?
Do you want me to do timer or?
Sure, that would be great.
Okay.
And is somebody willing to do grammarian?
I can do it.
Okay, thank you, Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to read our mission statement, which it has occurred to me is very short and I should probably just memorize. Farron, did you have it memorized?
No.
All right, let's see. We provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. I guess the thought is, perhaps a succinct way to explain our mission is that, or rather the outcome of what we are aiming for is that we would like to be more self-confident in our speaking and leadership, and that we would like to be able to observe personal growth in ourselves. So those are two things that you can internally evaluate as you are going through meetings and going through the Toastmasters process if you are reaching that. Business announcements. I will say for the few of us who are here that Denny and I are trying to find a date where we can go down to Evangel Home and get all of the equipment set up and do a trial run with that to make sure that everything's working so that we can actually plan our first in-person meeting. I apologize for a little bit delay. I've been actually senior sitting for the past 9 days, so I have not been able to leave the house or do anything, so I'm a little bit out of commission. All right, housekeeping on Zoom, which everybody already knows. Please mute yourself while other people are speaking, except during table topics. Use jazz hands to applaud and try to be present and focused on the meeting as much as is possible, even while in dual environments. With that, I would like to pass the podium over to our Toastmaster today, who is Farron. Please welcome Farron.
Thank you, Chanel. Today's theme is my favorite meme. When I say that, you can probably think of your favorite meme, or maybe you have a few. But I would like to introduce the idea first. A meme is an idea, behavior, or style that spreads by means of imitation from person to person within a culture. It comes from the Greek word mimema, which means that which is imitated. In real life, we can see ideas, behaviors, and styles that trend, for better or for worse, like low-rise jeans, the ice bucket challenge, or collecting houseplants. What's the difference between a trend and a meme, though? Trends try to be cool, memes try to be funny. We're probably most familiar with internet memes, those by which spread through social media. They're humorous images, videos, pieces of text, etc., that are copied, often with slight variations, and then spread rapidly across the internet through social media. And internet memes are so prolific that you can probably picture the exact image in your mind when I give just a few word description, such as Michael Jackson eating popcorn. You can picture it in your head, right? Crying Michael Jordan, grumpy cat, sarcastic Willy Wonka, Kermit sipping tea, the ancient aliens guy, success baby. That's actually a funny one. He was actually just eating sand on a beach, but it makes it look like he's like, yes, I did something. But yeah, funny background story. I'd also like to argue that thanks to TikTok, there are now meme sounds as well. Think of the viral sounds that content creators add to their videos. If I start saying, oh no, you can probably finish it, right? Oh, no, 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 no. Or don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious, right? I think that one's my favorite one. And then there's that new one that goes, that's just my baby doggy. You guys know that one, right? No, Chanel said no. Oh my gosh. Okay, maybe I'm on the internet too much. But how does this idea of a meme apply to Toastmasters? Oscar Wilde said, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. And I think here in Toastmasters, it's so beneficial to watch our fellow Toastmasters give speeches and even just introduce their roles during the meeting, because then we can take aspects of their speaking styles or the words that they use and incorporate them into our own speeches. If you admire someone's effective hand gestures, then you might imitate them, but put your own spin on it. Or you can imitate someone's vocal variety or even the organization of their speech. I am all for memes and imitation, and it's really great to be a part of a diverse Toastmasters group that is full of people that we want to learn from. And it's perfectly okay to imitate people and put your own spin on it and even bring some humor into it. To conclude, I think if we had one meme for our Toastmasters club, it would come from Joey. And it would say, tell them what you're gonna tell them, tell them what you just told them. Thanks. I'll pass it to the general evaluator. I don't know who that is.
I think that's me.
Okay, there you go, Joey.
And did we find a odd counter? Who is our odd counter? Let me see here. Let me get the big gallery view. Denny? Denny's our odd counter.
Oh, I thought I was. Okay.
Who?
I did
Sarah?
put Sarah on as that. Yes.
Oh, Sarah. Okay. Okay. Denny's the grammarian, right? Denny?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
Are you ready, Denny, or should I save you for last?
Ready.
That's for last. Ready? Okay. All right. So I know we don't have to spend too much time because we're all pretty much vets here. So I do want to bring up Denny to introduce our word of the day.
Hello, everyone. And our word of the day, I looked it up, berate. We're going to say berate in a sentence today. And I'm going to read it to you: to scold or condemn vehemently and at length. It can mean to rebuke angrily or violently. And also, it was probably formed by combining be and rate. All right. Berate. That was a very good definition. So if I were to use it in a sentence, I would say, parents, do not berate your children. Use it today and I'll give you a report at the end.
Thank you, Denny. And part of our communication leadership team, part of the goal is not to berate the rest of our members when they are doing their reports. So next up on our team is Farron, our timer.
Thanks, Joey. I will be timing Chanel's speech today, 5 to 7 minutes. And then evaluation by Denise should be 2 to 3 minutes. And our table topics will be 1 to 2 minutes. I like to use the backgrounds. So there we go. At the minimum time, we'll have a green screen. Halfway through the minimum time and the maximum time, we'll have yellow. And then red will be an indicator to wrap it up. And I will try not to berate anyone for going under or over their time at the end of the meeting.
Love it. Thanks, Farron. And then Sarah is our counter of the day. Sarah.
Thank you, Joey. It seems to be a popular theme to not berate each other in there because we're supposed to be a positive learning environment. So we'll continue to keep that up. But with that, I get to count all the ahs and ums and crutch words that are used. Our favorites tend to be the so's and ums, I think, are our top two. We'll keep a lookout for those, and I will report back to you at the end how many we didn't use. Or can I do that? I'm not sure. Anyway, back to you, Joey.
Thanks, Sarah. And then last but not least is the Zoom, and I'll be doing Zoom today and trying to make sure that we got all the right people on, which Sarah's still on right now. So we'll go back to gallery view so I can see everybody's beautiful, bright, shining faces. So with that, I will turn the table back over to Zafarin's our Toastmaster to introduce our speaker today.
Thank you. Let me pull up her bio. Should be prepared. My bad. All right, Chanel is our only speaker for the day. She is recycling a speech she gave several months ago titled Growing Up Homeschooled. This speech is a quasi-memoir for Chanel, and she hopes that you will enjoy it as much the second time around. Please welcome Chanel.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I believe most of you have probably heard this speech before, with the exception of Ty. I'm not sure if you were in that time. Raise your hand if you know someone or have ever known somebody who was homeschooled. Actually, you can all raise your hands because you all know me and I was homeschooled. I grew up homeschooled from preschool all the way through my senior year of high school. In fact, the first time that I ever sat in a public school classroom was when I first started going to Clovis Community College at the age of 16. Now, as an experienced lifelong homeschooler, today I am going to debunk for you 2 myths about homeschooling, and I'm also going to share 5 of what I believe to be the pros about being homeschooled. Now, growing up homeschooled meant that I had a front row seat, obviously, to a lot of these stereotypes and somewhat negative judgments that can often gather around homeschooling. Now, when I said that I was homeschooled, I wonder what first came to your mind. If you thought something along the lines of shy, sheltered, nerdy, isolated, unsocial, or anti-cultural, then you're definitely not alone. These are very common stereotypes of homeschoolers, and unfortunately for other homeschoolers, I do happen to fit a lot of them. However, there's a lot of homeschoolers out there who obviously don't fit those stereotypes. Perhaps some of you thought when you heard that I was homeschooled, oh, that makes so much sense. That's what's up with her. It explains a lot, doesn't it? But when I was younger, I was actually pretty embarrassed to tell people that I was homeschooled, because often when I did so, I was met with a interesting look, and I would say at least 50% of the time, the first question out of the person's mouth was, oh, so if you're homeschooled, do you have any friends? Now, this is myth number 1 about being homeschooled, that homeschoolers actually don't have any friends, because all we do is sit at home all day long and never leave the house and never talk to or socialize with anybody, ever. Now, are there some homeschoolers who do live that way? Yes, admittedly, and I would also say unfortunately. There are some homeschoolers who don't have friends. But I would also ask you, are there some public schoolers who don't have friends either? And the answer obviously is yes. Now, having friends or not having friends doesn't really have so much to do about being homeschooled or not homeschooled, as it does with how willing you are to put yourself out there and meet people and be willing to interact in different social environments. There's a lot of ways to meet people when you are homeschooled, like joining clubs, through church, joining sports teams, or getting involved with large homeschool organizations. Which brings me to myth number 2 about being homeschooled, is that if you are homeschooled, you're going to miss out on a bunch of really cool experiences, like going to prom, going to homecoming, having a graduation ceremony. Thankfully, this wasn't the case for me, and it's not the case for a lot of homeschoolers. A lot of larger cities have really big, legitimate homeschool organizations where the students can come together and plan lots of fun events. When I was in high school, I got to attend homeschool prom and go on a 3-day-long senior trip to Disneyland with some of my friends, because we're homeschooled, so our trip can be as long as we want, right? We don't have any obligations to be anywhere. When I graduated high school, I got to walk across the stage in cap and gown and receive my diploma, along with 43 other homeschooled students. Now, those are the 2 myths that I debunked for you, that homeschoolers do in fact have friends, and we do get to participate in a lot of cool experiences. Next, reflecting on my homeschool lineage, I'm going to give you a list of 5 things that are good, or benefits in my opinion, about being homeschooled. Number 1, eating ice cream while doing your homework. Now, Maybe this does happen in public school. I wouldn't really know because I haven't had the experience, but I would imagine that it's less common to be able to eat an ice cream sundae while you're sitting in class. However, when you're homeschooled, this definitely does happen. And pro number 2, getting done with school by lunchtime and getting to play for the rest of the day. Now, granted, that didn't really happen when I was in high school and had a much heavier academic load, but when I was in elementary school, most definitely. Finished school by lunchtime and got to spend the rest of the day playing and creating and doing lots of fun stuff. Pro number 3, obviously, is the low student-teacher ratio, which I think is one of the big reasons that a lot of parents who do homeschool choose to do it. In our classroom, it was teacher 1 against kids 3, my sisters and I. Now, to my mom, who was with us 24 hours a day, I'm sure that sometimes the 3 of us seemed like a lot more than just 3 kids, but it still is a better student-teacher ratio than a lot of public school classroom settings. Number 4 benefit of being homeschooled is learning self-discipline and time management from a young age. Now, that might not be the case with all homeschool students. In my case, though, by the time I was in junior high, I was pretty much doing all of my homework on my own. My mom actually didn't go to college, and at a certain point, she stopped being able to explain the work. And so I thought, okay, I will just teach myself. And that's what I did. So from a fairly young age, I learned to be engaged in my studies without somebody looking over my shoulder. And number 5 benefit of being homeschooled is, wait for it, you know it's coming, doing school in your pajamas. This is probably the thing that all non-homeschoolers dream about and picture when they think of being homeschooled and all of the glory that it presents. Admittedly, most days I did have to get dressed, but there were some days that I happily could do my schoolwork in my pajamas. Now, as a former homeschooler, I do support homeschooling, but obviously not for everybody. I don't think that homeschooling is superior necessarily to public school. I think it's a decision that families and parents get to make about what they're able to do and what works best for them and for their children. Homeschooling can be done well, and it can also be done not so well, I will admit. My hope is that homeschoolers and non-homeschoolers will be able to learn not to judge and berate each other, but can come together in more of a mutual understanding of what the different options entail. Thank you for listening. I will pass it back to Madam Toastmaster.
Awesome job, Chanel. I liked your speech the first time and the second time. And I think we can relate now with the pandemic of doing work, maybe not schoolwork, but actual work in our pajamas. I know I've done it. Being able to work from home. So that's fun. Next up, I would like to introduce the Table Topics Master, Storm Davis.
Good afternoon, everybody. So we have a list of table topics that I chose from. Personally chose them handpicked for the theme of the day, which wasn't the best attempts, but so I've got a list of 5 table topics. You could choose 1 through 5. Are there any animals that make you uncomfortable? And going on to a different subject, if you were able to write a book, what would it be about? Number 3, tell us about the best boss you've ever worked for. Number 4, every good superhero needs a good supervillain. Who is the best supervillain and why? Number 5, kids have funny beliefs about how the world works. How did you see the world when you were a child? And the reference is from publicspeakingwisdom.com, but that website is now shut down, but I still got a PDF. Did we have any volunteers?
I'll go.
Danny.
The best boss I ever worked for, his name was Jack Batty. He was the best photographer I ever met. I went to a wedding show looking for the best photographer because I wanted to learn. And I pretended I was a bride, completely lied about all the circumstances, and asked him a bunch of questions to look through his work. And his work stood out above everyone else. It took me about 2 months of picking up the phone and going, no, I'm not going to call. No, I'm afraid. Finally, I picked up the phone and the phone call went through. He answered the phone and I said, I'm a beginning photographer and I love your work. I'd really like to work for you. And rather than say, no, that's ridiculous, you don't have any experience, what he said to me was, come on in, let's talk. I went in and he looked at some of my work and I said, it doesn't matter to me. I'll work for free. I'll do an apprenticeship, whatever it is, but I'd really like to work under you. So he took me on. I started working with him in weddings and he taught me everything I know in a very positive way. If I made a mistake, he would go over it and show me the right way to do things. If I wanted to experiment with something, he encouraged that. All the way along, he even loaned me equipment when I needed it. So he was completely supportive. And one of the most important things he taught me was not to compete. I know a lot of people are born with that competitive gene, but in my business, when I meet another photographer, and I learned this from Jack, I introduce myself and find ways to work with that other photographer. And that has taken me a long way in my business. I don't look at other people as competing with me, but as fellow photographers where we can help each other find more business. Thank you.
That was beautiful. Very nice. All right, any other volunteers?
I can go Storm.
All right.
I'll do number one. Are there any animals that make you uncomfortable? I grew up, many of you, I shared this before, watching the Crocodile Hunter, and he was probably one of my favorites, probably the biggest tragedies in all of the television people out there. And for those of you that do remember what happened, he got hit with a stingray barb, went through his chest, and I had heard that it went through and then he had pulled it out, but I guess it went in and out and it created a big hole there. It was just really a sad thing. But those animals are typically the animals that he was around. People really have a affinity of hating, and it's the alligators. It's a lot of the lizard world and things like that. So I grew up really watching those shows and appreciating those animals. Sometimes he'd do the ocean animals like the sharks and some of the whales, things like that. But the big one probably, if anything, would make me pretty uncomfortable are the snakes, the deadly snakes, because those are the ones, especially the ones that are silent. At least the rattlesnakes will give you a little bit of a fair warning when you step around them. They'll give that rattle. But the ones like the king cobras or any of the other ones that don't make any sound are the ones that terrify me, because you can get hit before you even know it. And hopefully you have a good idea that where you're walking or hiking, know that those type of snakes are around, so you know you have some sort of emergency plan. But if any of the animals that made me uncomfortable, it would definitely be the silent snakes.
Thank you, Joey. Thank you. Any more volunteers?
I'll go.
Ty.
Excuse me. So the animal that makes me uncomfortable, and I'm a little embarrassed to admit this because I am a grown man, are rats and rodents. I become a very, I'm like a small child, or a small girl maybe, who sees something and will jump. I actually, when I was in school, I developed this phobia of them, and someone brought a rat to class, and I got up and I went home and I walked home, and my grandma at the time was like, she didn't understand why I was home. She's like, where are you coming from? I guess someone brought a rat to class. So I even I live in a woodsy area. My dog used to kill them all the time. And, it's something I'm still dealing with as a grown man. I don't know why. I'm so much bigger than them. I know that they're more afraid of me than I am of them, but I always kind of think they did kill half of Europe at one time, and that kind of still terrifies me to this day. And they make me uncomfortable. I don't like them. I actually have a friend who I used to work with. She was like, oh, I used to have a rat in class in school, and she brought it to work, and I just went home that day. I just worked with the rest of the day. So yeah, that is my fear and phobia, and makes me really uncomfortable.
All right, so Sarah, if Sarah's here, or Chanel, if you want to go next.
I will go then. I think maybe Sarah stepped out of the room for a moment. I will answer question number 2. If you were to write a book, what would it be about? It's something I have thought about before. I think I actually have 2 answers. The first, if I were to write a book, I would write a fictionalized story based off of my own life. I think that some of the most interesting stories are stories of ordinary people that are told well enough to make them very engaging. And I would probably invent a few things also just to make it a little bit more interesting. But I think that would be a very, very fun exercise. And secondly, a second book to write would also be a fictionalized yet rooted in the present day socio-political world globally, showing how interconnected the lives of each person on the planet is and how the decisions that we make affect so many other people, and rather a portrait that so often I think we paint people into categories of black and white. These are the good people and these are the bad people, but motives and reality are so much more complex than that. And I think that to paint that picture in a novel would be really cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I guess I will be the last person to go for the table topics, maybe. So we got.
Storm, can I interrupt?
Oh, of course.
So I'm actually here, but my internet's really bad, so I don't. If you can't hear me. Then...
Yes, you're good.
Okay, I'm gonna leave my camera off because I'm hoping to actually be able for you to hear me. I would like to answer either number 1 or number 5. With number 1, and the animals I felt uncomfortable. I'm generally not a pet person or an animal person. I think they're very, very amazing and cool in their natural habitat, but having them around to get hair all over the place and to lick you and all kind of things are not my favorites. And I don't really like it all that much, but they're all right. This brings me to my brother's dog. I don't know, some of you may know that I just recently moved with my parents. I moved in with my parents in November, and then all 3 of us moved this past month, a couple of weeks ago. And then my brother and sister-in-law are also going to be moving into this house with us. My brother has this dog. She's a Cane Corso. I don't know if you know what those are. They're a big, beautiful black dog, and she's just gorgeous. And she runs beautifully. And I'm a huge person for running form. So even in dogs, I think it's really, really awesome when you see somebody run well. I like that. The one thing I do not like is that when I'm sitting at the kitchen table, she sits there and stares at me. And I want to tell her to go away, and it annoys me, and it makes me feel very uncomfortable. I'm like, you're not getting my food, go away. And then, because it partly makes me feel a little guilty, because I mean, there's this poor little dog looking at you with these gorgeous eyes saying, give me some food. And I'm like, go away, this is my food. So, anyway, there's my uncomfortable feelings. around dogs and animals. I don't like them staring at me, licking me, or leaving hair all over the place. But in general, they're very beautiful creatures. Thank you very much, Storm, for letting me butt in.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Okay, so I guess I will be the last table topics unless we have time for round two. Huh?
I haven't gone yet either.
Okay, I apologize.
It's okay.
I'm writing everybody's name who goes down, and go right ahead.
Cool. I'm gonna get ready to time myself. I will take number 3. Tell us the best boss you've ever worked for. Besides myself, working for myself, the best boss that I've had is the other one that I have currently. I actually have 2 bosses, Kelly and Jameson. They are the yoga teachers that own Tower Yoga. And I actually started at Tower Yoga as a student. I practiced there for about a year, and then they announced yoga teacher training. And I took their yoga teacher training. So it was Kelly and Jameson. We call him JMO. Kelly and JMO put together this amazing curriculum, taught us how to teach yoga. And then as soon as the pandemic started to wane and we started getting back into the studio, they asked me to teach there. Because of my kids and the schedule and things, it didn't work out at first, but I was like, something is going to happen. I have to manifest it. Just let them change the schedule or something to be able to let me work there. And then that happened. And now I work there Thursday mornings, Tuesday evenings, and then I'm going to pick up another shift Monday. So I'll have a really consistent yoga teaching schedule. And my bosses are amazing because they're not just my teachers, my inspiration, but they're also close friends. I just went running with Kelly a couple days ago. We went for a run and then we took our paddle boards out on Millerton. So I think it's just really cool to have that type of relationship with your boss when you can just talk to them about anything, open up about anything. I can take my kids to the studio if I don't have childcare for them. They're just super chill, and I absolutely love my job and my bosses. That's all.
Awesome. I love good bosses. Denny was sold me on the one for her photography, and then the bosses make the best because it's who you work with every single day. You spend more time sometimes with your bosses, your managers, than you do with your own family. Could be up to 12 or 14 hours a day. I've had the experience with that. So I was going to choose the one that makes okay, I didn't want to berate make any berated comments about animals or anything else like that. Everything's God's creature. But as a young kid, I was watching Lion King. And one of the things was like, Daboon, lift up the lion up into the light for Simba and stuff like that. But I often watched Animal Planet. Now there I saw Steve Irwin. He was like my childhood hero. He was awesome. I never saw him get hurt or anything else like that. It was just amazing watching him in Australia with his wife and kid. It was a lot of fun. But my fear was after Lion King was actually when I saw a baboon mad. So my fear are baboons. And until I was learning more about them when I was older, I had the biggest fear about baboons, and I actually dreamt about them a couple times of bad dreams. It's just like their big teeth, and it's like, oh look, it's like this is like my version of a saber-toothed tiger, and it was just so scary for myself. I was thinking, they look weird. They are incredibly fast and strong, and I would never want to be on the bad side on their if they're going to be hateful or something like that. Thank you. And I guess I will hand it over to our Toastmaster of the day for
general eval.
Yeah, evaluation.
Thanks, Storm. They got colorful butts too, by the way. So once they leave you in a bloody pile on the floor, you get to see them walk away with the color butt.
I didn't want to bring that up. I remember that. I didn't want to bring it up.
I had to. Yeah. Thank you, Storm, for the awesome table topics, and everybody for sharing. We always learn a lot during table topics. So I want to bring up Denny, who is our evaluator of Chanel's speech the second time around. So Denny, take the floor.
Good job, Chanel. I love your topic. And you were very organized in your speech, as always. You always are that. You laid it out for us so that we would have 2 points in the beginning of myths you were going to bust for us, and then 5 benefits, so that you held our interest all the way through. So some of the things that I really liked that you did, you were expert at where you stood in front of the camera, because I could see your hand gestures very well, even though I didn't see the lower part of your body, but your hands came into the frame enough that it didn't take away from you, but there was definitely expression there from your hands. That was great. You moved in and out from the camera. I know Joey has worked, I don't know if the two of you have worked together on that, but I know the two of you are conscientious about that. And I thought that that worked very well. And your spacing from the camera is really good, so you don't turn into a big face when you go in. It was very good, very natural. I like that. You had very good vocal variety, and I want to say that's a big improvement from when you very first started. You seem very comfortable in front of the camera. There are a lot of expression in your voice, ups and downs and enthusiasm. I saw you smile, laugh a few times. And when you do that, it makes me feel very comfortable watching you. And I don't feel like you're nervous, so I don't feel nervous for you. Very comfortable. And I did love your humor. You used your hand gestures with your humor. You did one of these that was very cute and made me laugh. I like the way you ended your speech. Even though you're homeschooled, you left it wide open for everyone else who's not homeschooled, and you didn't berate us or make us feel less than your education level, which obviously you got a fantastic education as a homeschooled person. I thought you did a great job on the speech. I don't think I'm going to come up with something that you can do better, to be honest. I thought you excelled on this, your second speech for that topic. And you did a really great job. You just pulled us in, told us what you were going to tell us. You wrapped it up. Humor, hand gestures, the whole deal. You did a great job.
I know I cleared my throat a couple of times, so I can wrap myself on that. And
we can live with that.
there was definitely at least a couple of times that I was fumbling for my words.
Well, you may have felt that way. However, it didn't come across.
It didn't take away from the speech, in other words.
Correct.
Yep. Very good. Both of you. Way to go, ladies. All right, let's get into the other evaluation on our evaluation team. And let's start. We're going to leave Denny for last so we can let any last minute grammarian using the word of the days in. So let's start with Farron on our timer. How'd we do?
We did amazing. I don't have to berate anyone for going under the time limit. Chanel, you went slightly over at 7:25. Denny, your table topics was 2:14, also slightly over. Everyone else was in the range. Joey, 1:36. Good job. Wow. Hi, 1:22. Chanel, 1:40. Sarah, 1:36. Myself, 1:50. And Storm, 1:13. And then Denny, your evaluation ended right before the time limit, 2:56. Perfect. Good job, everybody.
Way to go. All right, awesome, Dawson. Cookies, how do we do on
I missed a lot of it, unfortunately, because the camera kept cutting out and couldn't quite hear. Like, you guys are all still frozen in place at this point.
hopefully you missed me, Sarah.
I didn't, unfortunately. At the very beginning, I caught a few so's, like the long so's and the ones that weren't really necessary on those. Chanel, on your speech, I heard at least, I heard most of it, and I think I did hear a couple of the clearing your throats, but through your speech, from the parts that I heard, I didn't hear anything, like there was nothing to take away or distract. It was really, really great. That in your table topics, there was a couple of ands. Storm, I heard an all right so and an most of the time, pretty right on. Denny, I didn't hear anything from you. Ty, I got a one so yeah, a couple you knows, and then a couple uhs, but altogether
Covered
much
them all.
much better. Yeah, it's really subtle on yours. I think he just said it, you know, and that's one of my favorites too. So we could be buddies in that. I'm pretty sure I said it 2 or 3 times already. So, so good job, everybody. You did it overall. Great job. It's sounding very, very good and not distracting for the most part. So good job.
Thank you, Sarah. All right, Danny, how do we do? Grammarian word of the day.
Berate. I think we all used it. Baron used it twice that I heard. And I think we've got everybody in there. I don't have Ty down. Ty, did you use it?
He says no.
I didn't know.
Okay, you're the only one. Good job.
Thanks, Danny. And then general eval of the meeting, I think went well. We went in not knowing, or we knew, I think Sarah was the only one in the counter on our evaluation team that we knew. And then we had some people fill in. We had a lot of multiple roles, which is pretty normal when we have a smaller, more intimate group, which is totally fine. That is a part of life. Sometimes you do have to take on multiple roles. So I think we did great there. Chanel, thanks for giving that speech second time around. A lot better. And like Denny said, much, much improved from when you first started. And I do agree with her on the tonal variety in the beginning, very monotone. And you've done a great job with being able to do that, voice up and down and changing what your tone is. And then, like she said, moving in and out and around the screen and using your space, this little box rectangle thing that we got here, using your space really well. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the actual flesh when we start getting back together and giving those speeches, because like you said, you started with us right at the beginning of the beginning of the close down, where we went into the Zoom. So you haven't had as much experience on there. So I think there's some room for growth, especially for everybody here. Because I know Ty hasn't done that yet. Storm, I don't even know if you've done that yet. You were with us before. You didn't give any speeches in person though? No. Yeah. So great work, everybody. I will hand the baton over to our El Presidente, La Presidente.
Thank you, Joey. I'm looking forward to meeting in person. I said this at the beginning, but Ty, I don't think you were quite in yet, that Denny and Sarah and I are trying to coordinate a day so we can test out all of the equipment and make sure that we have it set up and working before we do the in-person meeting. So it is coming, I promise, very soon. I will give rewards today to the people who took on multiple roles, which would be Joey, Farron, Denny, I think you 3. Thank you. And we don't have any guests, so I don't have to worry about that. We can fill out next week's agenda. Right now, we do not have any speakers. The theme is National Lazy Day. I chose that. I think it will be funny. I'm excited to see what the table topics and Toastmaster have to say about that. So first thing with speakers, would anybody like to schedule a speech in the upcoming weeks?
I just wanted to kind of make a note that I will be in San Francisco next week from Monday and Tuesday, and so I won't be able to attend, but I'll be back the next week.
That's not allowed. You're gonna get
my travel is starting to pick up now that everything's kind of open. So
what I mean, that is totally fine and understandable.
You can put me down. I went into for a speech. I went into my thing a little late last night. I thought I was going to be able to, I thought I had one more elective speech, but I guess I had gone through, finished my 2. And then I was like, oh shoot, I can't move through, because when I could do it VPE, I could push through my own thing, but I couldn't. And it was too late at night. And then I think Farron did it this morning. So I was like, it's too late. So we'll do it next week.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
And who would like to evaluate Joey? I can do it, actually. I haven't evaluated anyone
Yeah.
yet, so put myself down for that. Who volunteers to be Toastmaster for National Lazy Day?
Yikes. Toastmaster.
Is that Denny?
I'll do it.
Okay.
She's checking her schedule.
All right, sounds good. Can we get somebody to do general evaluator and table topics? And we'll leave it at that.
Storm, you want to do general eval?
Yeah.
He says,
You gonna
okay.
be here, Storm?
I keep forgetting I'm muted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You good job with table topics today. I like the
Yeah.
questions.
Thank you. General evaluator.
I can
And
do table topics next week.
Sarah, okay.
Yeah.
And Sarah, are you planning on being here next week?
I'll be here, so fill me in wherever you need it.
Do you want to choose?
Got grammarian timer.
No, just do whatever.
Okay. All right, I'll plug you into something. Thank you. Do we have any questions, comments, complaints from anybody else?
I think we're good. I think we'll start picking up when school gets in. We got a couple more weeks. And then people will be a little bit more anchored to Fresno or Clovis. So we should see our numbers, meeting numbers pick up a little bit.
With summer vacations. and
So
stuff.
yeah, summer's been crazy.
Yeah, hopefully that's the case. Okay, with
Denny?
that then, oh, you have something to say?
Do we have a minute?
Yes, we do. We have 8 minutes actually.
We still have Sarah on the line.
Sarah, are
Sarah.
you still there?
Yes, for a couple more minutes, and I gotta
Oh.
run a little early.
Okay, are you hearing anything about restrictions? Are we still good?
We actually just, so because we're a shelter, we're supposedly one of the high-risk congregate settings, and so we got told that anybody who's gonna be around residents has to either have proof of vaccination or take tests weekly, which I don't think it'll apply to us because we're not gonna be around residents, but we still do need to be wearing masks and all of that.
Okay, you'll let us know.
Yeah, good question.
I was at a nursing home yesterday, so I'm kind of getting updates a little bit on what's, it's a little in the air right now.
Mm-hmm.
The virus.
Yes, very much.
So yeah, confirm with us, Sarah, and obviously I don't want you to feel pressured in any way to do something that would make you uncomfortable or
Or illegal.
Yeah.
yeah, definitely not illegal. We do not want to be party to that.
Thank you. I appreciate that very, very much. Thanks.
Storm?
You would do it for us, but you know.
I know you jump in front of a bullet for us, Sarah. I know you would.
I'd like to think so, but I think I'm a big chicken when it comes down to it.
You'd be jumping the other way.
Protect yourself at all times.
So there's one thing I wanted to add. Lower your cortisol in your system, lower stress, and your immune system will actually increase. So everybody be happy and learn to smile. It changes your physiology. You smile, your mind will follow.
Well put. And then the other thing to think about too, because when we were talking about when Chanel, not saying that your place is still up for grabs or anything, but when people were offering up their places at that time, we were just going to meet in person, but we're doing this hybrid thing. So where Denise maybe not be able to leave the office, she can still be online. Right. So if we can still work that too. If Sarah, all right, Sarah's heading out. See you, Sarah. Thanks for coming.
Hi guys, sorry.
That's
Bye.
all right. But if we needed another place, like what we were talking about in the past, we can do that now since we're doing the online thing too. So anybody that wants to do that, so we don't have to go with Sarah. We don't have to put that pressure on her if she doesn't.
Well, what would the other option be?
Well, I'm just planting the seed. So if somebody wants to put up their house, backyard, whatever it is, it's not going to be as much of a problem. You know, remember Mike Wu put up his office, which would be very hot if we did that, because I went over there, it was pretty hot. But we could do that because we would just set up all the online stuff, and those that couldn't make it to the physical could always just tune in online. We didn't have that set up back then, right? We didn't know what we were doing with that. So that's an option too. We don't have to put all our eggs in one basket.
So your point is you're just saying the location, it doesn't have to be downtown necessarily as we were aiming for before.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Just something to think about.
Okay. All right, good thoughts. Anything else?
That's it.
All right, it is 12:56 then. I will adjourn the meeting and hope everybody has a great week.
Have a great week, everybody.
Bye.